All right, theater technicians, today we are going to hang and focus an ellipsoidal reflector spotlight. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to pick up our instrument and we want to attach it to our electric right here. Now we've got it marked off with some masking tape where we want to hang it. I like to keep all the C-clamps going the same direction. So you can see this one over here. That way we can come down the same side of the electric. And the first thing I'm gonna do is take this C-clamp bolt and I'm gonna turn it to get it hand tight, okay? I wanna make sure that it's on there. And this is probably the most important thing you're going to do when hanging a light, is you are going to attach a safety cable. And so how we do that is, we take this safety cable and we what's called choking it. We run it through this loop and then we take our carabiner clip and we clip it into this little hole that the lighting company has put in there for us. Now, no matter what happens, if the bell rings and I leave and then somebody comes and raises the electric, this is going to keep this light from falling off. So then I go back in with my wrench here, and I'm wearing gloves. Even though the light's not even plugged in yet, I'm wearing gloves because several sections of technical theater, somebody could have had these plugged in and they'll remain hot for a long time. And actually this light was plugged in, so it is still a little warm. Now that our clamp is tight, it's time to plug in and focus our light. For our demonstration here, I have the lights already turned on. Normally you would want to have your lights off, then plug your light in, and then have somebody on the board turn your light on for you. But just for the essence of time in the video, it's going to turn on right away. So with the twist lock, you have to line up your plug and then give it a little twist, and that just keeps it from coming up loose. You also want to make sure that your plug doesn't rest up against your light because it will get hot and it can melt. So we're going to tuck that away. So now we see we've got our beam of light right here. And what I want to do is I want to focus it into this shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up approximately the angle I want it at, and this is the pan of the light, and then I'm going to get the tilt of the light where I want it, and that's just like a video camera, pan, back and forth, tilt. So I line it up. Once I get the pan correct, I got to tighten that little set screw on the side by hand. And then see if I can get my wrench here. And I'm going to come around. You want to be careful when tightening this because it's such a small bolt. It doesn't need to be super tight. So once you get it snug, give it another half turn, and that's going to keep the light from moving. Now, tilt is actually, I don't need my wrench for the tilt. I just loosen this hand screw on the side, and I want to get that pretty centered, and we're pretty close right there. I may have to come back in and loosen this up. So it's important to hold that into place while you're tightening it so it doesn't move. All right, now I can begin the focusing process. So first thing is, I like to get my edge sharp right away before I start adjusting the shutters. And the way I do that, and a lot of people miss this, I loosen this little screw on top, and now I move the barrel back and forth. And you can see this is a nice soft edge. here we have a good sharp edge. That's going to make it a lot easier to focus. And that'll become important when we start talking about gobos as well. So once I have that, now I can begin to shape the beam of light. And I do that with these shutters right here. Now it's important to remember, because of the reflectors inside of there, everything is backwards. So if I'm looking at the light and I move this, which would be the right shutter, it's going to move the opposite side on the beam. Okay, so I'm going to start here, try and get that shape how I want it. Really try to fit it into that tape. And we're going to get it close. And there's going to be a little play with the electric, you can see, just because it's on these cables and it moves a little bit. But we're pretty close there. Now, if I'm off a little bit, rather than go back and mess with my shutters, there's another screw. We're going to show that in a second. It's underneath, you can't see it right now. But that allows me to spin the barrel and get it adjusted exactly how I want it. Double check my focus here. Yep. And then I came back in and focused and it shrunk down a little bit, so I can just go back in and adjust my shutters. There. And that is how you focus the light. Ready? All right, our next step is installing a gel into our light. And as you've already learned, gel is this thin colored plastic that resists heat, and that will change the color of the beam. So I've already cut my gel. I've got my gel frame right here. I go ahead and just slide that in. And then I like to put the folded edge side down. It just goes in a little easier. And we want to make sure that that gets in that slot correctly. Now this is really important, because even something lightweight like this, if it falls from a really great height and hits someone, that's still really dangerous. So once I've got my gel installed, then I'm going to take this clip. And this is a spring-loaded clip, so I have to slide it over, and that allows me to lock it into place. Now, no matter what happens, that gel is locked into place. Remove it, I do the same thing. Slide that clip over, and slide out the gel. Okay, next we're going to install a gobo. And as you know, a gobo is just a metal template that shapes the beam of light. We can have abstract shapes and patterns, or we can have something that's very realistic. In this case, so you can see how to focus, this gobo says applause, and it's got some hands clapping. So we want to make sure that we're installing the gobo on top of the light. That way, if this light was flipped, the gobo would then be able to slide out. We don't want that. I'm wearing gloves because the metal from the gobo can get pretty hot. I go ahead and I just install it right there. And you can't read it yet because it's still out of focus. So then I go back in with my barrel, loosen my set screw, and slide my barrel until it is focused, and I can see the hands and I can read the applause. Now, what's going to happen is, this is a process we're going to have to go back and forth a little bit, because when this electric gets raised up, the source of light is going to get further away, the applause sign is going to get bigger, but then it will tend to go out of focus. So you can either use a scissor lift or a ladder and focus it when it's up high, or just by trial and error, having it a little bit out of focus, raise it up, check it, bring it back down, make adjustments.